The alien ship floated in the shadow of a broken moon. The crew spoke little as they watched the planet turn below them, a small world with blue oceans and silver clouds. Beyond its orbit, countless shapes drifted in formation, shining softly against the sunlight. Those were humanity's ships, silent, perfect, terrifying. Commander Relan leaned forward in his chair, his scales flickering with nervous light. "Begin long-range scan," he said quietly. The order echoed through the cabin like a whisper in a temple. Every sensor came alive, humming in careful rhythm. Their mission was simple: observe, record, and leave unseen. The High Council wanted to know how powerful humanity's fleet had become after the wars. No one dared to make contact directly. Lieutenant Sarah worked at her console, eyes fixed on the display. "Readings unstable," she murmured. "Their ships emit no standard energy signature. It's like they absorb light." She adjusted the spectrum again, but the result stayed the same. Nothing but white glow and shadows. Relan frowned. "Increase magnification." The screen sharpened. Now they could see the ships clearly. Long vessels of white metal lined with blue veins of light. Each one looked more like a living monument than a machine. There was beauty in them, cold and distant like stars that refused to die. Sarah's voice dropped. "Commander, they're not moving." Relan blinked. "What do you mean?" "All of them," she said. "Hundreds of ships. No drift, no rotation, no propulsion. It's as if they are frozen and waiting." The room fell silent. No one dared to breathe. The alien fleet had spied on empires before, but nothing like this. Every other species showed noise. Engine trails, energy leaks, life heat. Humanity's fleet was pure stillness, and that stillness felt alive. Relan tried to shake the unease. "Launch recon drones. Keep them dark." Tiny silver orbs detached from their hull and drifted toward the human formation. No light, no signal. Perfect silence. The crew watched them vanish into the black. Seconds passed. Then minutes. Sarah whispered, "Drone 1 has reached target perimeter." No response. "Good, proceed closer," Relan ordered. His claws tapped the armrest slowly. "Let's find out what they're guarding." The second drone entered range and sent back images. A massive ship filled the frame, easily the size of a city. Its surface was smooth, without a single weapon port visible. Yet sensors screamed of energy within, restrained but immense. The ship's center glowed faintly, a pulse of blue like a heartbeat under metal skin. "What kind of drive is that?" one officer asked. Sarah shook her head. "Not warp, not plasma, not any model known. The pattern repeats, precise intervals, stable beyond natural engineering." Relan leaned closer. "Record everything. If they're hiding power, we'll expose it." As the drones crept closer, a soft hum filled the room. It wasn't from their ship. The sound came through the channel, faint but steady. A rhythmic vibration like a pulse in the deep. "Commander, I think they're aware of us." Relan froze. "No, impossible. Our stealth field is perfect." He checked the systems himself. Every parameter was normal. But the hum grew louder. The drones began transmitting static. Then, one by one, their signals vanished. Drone 2 lost. "Drone 3 offline," Sarah said, her voice breaking. "They didn't explode, they just disappeared." Relan stared at the blank screen. No explosions. No interference. Just nothing. "Pull the rest back." The final drone turned toward home. Halfway through, it stopped moving. The sensors showed its hull temperature dropping rapidly, as if drained of heat. Then a single image flashed before the feed died. A human figure standing on the hull of the massive ship, glowing faintly in the starlight. No suit, no motion, just watching. Relan stood slowly. "What did we just see?" Sarah's hands trembled. "There's no life form detected. It could be a projection." The lights flickered. A voice calm and clear filled the ship's speakers. "You should not have come." The crew turned as one. The voice wasn't loud, but it carried weight. It spoke in their own language, perfect pronunciation. Relan swallowed hard. "Identify yourself." The voice ignored him. "Observation is not permission. Curiosity without respect leads to loss." Sarah's console blinked red. "Commander, our systems are being scanned, all of them." The view outside changed. The fleet, once motionless, began to shift slowly, like giants waking from a long sleep. Their blue lights brightened, tracing the shape of a circle around the human planet. Every movement was graceful, exact, and impossibly coordinated. "Full retreat," Relan shouted. "Power engines now." Their ship turned, engines roaring. The stars stretched as they fled, but even at light speed the feeling of being watched did not fade. For several minutes no one spoke. Then the sensors went dead. Navigation, life support, even time tracking. Gone. Sarah whispered, "It's like they erased us from space." The voice returned, softer now. "Leave, remember, do not return unseen," and then silence. The systems flickered back. The planet, the fleet, and the blue sun were gone. Only empty space remained. Relin sank into his seat, sweat cold against his skin. "Transmit this to the council," he said weakly. "Tell them we saw the end of arrogance." Outside, the stars were quiet again. But deep inside the ship's log, unseen by any of them, a small line of blue code appeared, unpulsing gently, like a heartbeat waiting to wake. The council chamber floated above the misty clouds of Varus Prime, surrounded by pillars of glass that shimmered with captured starlight. The hall was filled with quiet tension. Hundreds of eyes, reptilian, avian, and luminous, watched as Commander Relin's transmission flickered across the room. The recording showed only fragments now, static, flashes of blue light, then the voice that had echoed through their ship. "You should not have come." The words hung in the air long after the message ended. High Speaker Torvin leaned forward, his long crest shifting with irritation. "You claim a fleet of humans erased your probes and disabled your ship with no visible weaponry?" His voice was smooth, but each word was sharpened with disbelief. Relin stood below the council platform, still pale. "Yes, Speaker. They did not attack. They simply looked at us and we could not move." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some laughed quietly, others frowned. One of the younger delegates whispered, "Fear has softened the commander. Humans were always primitive. They can't—" Relin slammed his clawed hand on the table. "They are not primitive. You did not see them. Their ships breathe. Their silence is not weakness. It is control." A deep rumble of voices filled the room. The council disliked being challenged, especially by someone who returned without proof of victory. Torvin raised a hand and the noise fell away. "You brought no data, no drone memory, no readings. Only your fear and an empty sky. Why should we believe you?" Raylan hesitated, then nodded to his aide, Sarah. She stepped forward and placed a small black orb on the table. It pulsed faintly with blue light. "This is all that returned," she said softly. "One fragment from the last drone before it vanished," Torvin gestured. "Show it." The lights dimmed. The orb projected a short, broken feed, metal hulls glowing under a blue sun, then a flicker of a human-shaped figure standing in the void, watching. For a moment, even the council grew silent. The image ended abruptly, leaving behind a faint echo of the hum, the same low vibration that had filled the spy ship before the voice appeared. Torvin leaned back. An illusion, a defense system, impressive but not supernatural. He turned to the others. "Humans have advanced, yes, but they cannot defy physics. I propose deeper surveillance. A fleet of cloaked observers, not one ship. We will find their secret." Relin opened his mouth, but Sarah spoke first. "With respect, High Speaker, we were warned." The voice said not to return unseen. "If they can speak through our systems without a signal, what else can they do?" The room buzzed again. Torvin smiled thinly. "Are you frightened of a whisper, Lieutenant? If they truly are what you claim, then they must be watched even closer." Across the chamber, a small figure stood. Her armor was simple, her crest silvered with age. It was Scholar Nail, the oldest historian among them. Her voice was calm. "We have seen this before," she said. "Long ago, when humanity first reached the stars. Do you remember the siege of Carthon?" A murmur ran through the room. Everyone remembered. Carthon had been a war that ended in silence. No wrecks, no distress calls. Just a region of space gone dark for a century. No one had linked it to humans then. Nail continued, "They do not fight for power. They fight for warning. Every time they are spied on, they erase the watchers. Not to rule, to be left alone." Torvin waved a dismissive hand. "My dear scholar, myths are not strategy. We will not fear ghosts." He turned back to Relin. "Commander, prepare a full reconnaissance plan. This time bring back proof." Relin looked up slowly. "You are making a mistake," Torvin's eyes gleamed. "Perhaps. But progress requires risk." "You will lead again." Sarah stepped forward. "We barely survived the first encounter." "If we go back—" "Silence!" Torvin snapped. "You will go where ordered. The council will not be ruled by superstition." Relin said nothing. He only turned his gaze toward the stars visible through the transparent ceiling. They were beautiful, distant, and suddenly terribly still. That night, in the quiet of his quarters, Relin couldn't sleep. The hum from that human voice still echoed in his skull, gentle yet endless. He activated the data orb again, letting it replay the single image. The human figure stood in perfect calm, hands at its sides, light bending around it. There was no anger in that stance. Just warning, he whispered to himself. They could have destroyed us, but they didn't. Why? Sarah appeared in the doorway. Because they don't need to, she said softly. We're already destroying ourselves. Relin looked up. What do you mean? She stepped closer, holding a small data pad. After we transmitted the report, something strange happened. All our archives related to the human wars are gone, erased. Not deleted, rewritten. Every file replaced with one phrase, "We are seen." Relin stared at her. From where? From our own database. It wasn't hacked. It changed from inside. A chill ran through him. They're watching even here. Outside, in the vast night above Varus Prime, a faint ripple shimmered across the stars, barely visible, like a curtain moving in slow motion. For a moment, the stars themselves seemed to blink, and one of the guards in the outer tower swore he saw a vast outline, the shape of a ship, drifting silently through the void. It was gone before he could alert anyone. Days passed. The council began its preparations for the second mission. Larger ships, better cloaks, stronger shields. Yet none of their engineers could explain why their long-range systems sometimes whispered in human language when idle, or why the phrase "you are seen" appeared randomly in diagnostic screens. Sarah spent hours decoding the blue symbol that had marked their last drone. It was not a threat. It was coordinates, pointing somewhere beyond mapped space. When she told Relin, he didn't hesitate. They want us to follow. But the council forbids it, she said. They won't understand until it's too late, he replied. Maybe humans are not warning us away. Maybe they're warning us about something worse. The next day, before the council fleet could depart, Relin's small ship vanished from the docks. It left no trace, no engine trail, no signal. Only a silent mark on the launch pad, glowing faintly blue. Far away, beyond the reach of the council's sensors, a single ship drifted into an unseen current of light, pulled toward the coordinates humanity had left behind. The stars ahead pulsed in slow rhythm like a heartbeat waiting to be heard. And somewhere, deep in that rhythm, a calm voice whispered again. You still wish to see. Then look. Relin's ship emerged from the current like a leaf falling out of a dream. The stars around him were wrong. Too close, too bright, arranged in unfamiliar constellations that pulsed with faint blue halos. His instruments refused to label the region. There were no coordinates, no galactic grid. The ship's computer only displayed a single word on every map layer. Unknown. Sarah stood beside him, her reflection trembling in the glass of the viewport. This space shouldn't exist, she whispered. We've crossed beyond map dimensions. Even subspace fields don't behave like this. Relin said nothing. He was watching the void ahead. At first it looked empty. Then a faint shimmer passed through it, a ripple of light bending in slow waves like heat above sand. From that distortion, shapes began to emerge. They weren't ships in the traditional sense. They were enormous structures of light and shadow, their surfaces translucent and shifting. Inside them, glowing filaments pulsed like living veins. Sarah adjusted the focus. Are those stations? Relin shook his head. They move. The structures drifted slowly, each rotation deliberate and graceful. There was no engine flare, no mechanical movement, just pure motion through unseen means. And within that slow ballet, smaller forms glided between them, silver trails dancing like comets. They're not defending, Relin said. They're watching. A low pulse echoed through the hull. The sound wasn't from their ship. It came from the space around them. Each wave of sound carried a strange warmth, like a heartbeat too vast to belong to a creature. The readings flickered wildly, oscillating between physical vibration and encoded signal. Sarah frowned. It's communication, Relin nodded. Then let's listen. She tuned the scanners, separating the tones. Beneath the rhythm, words began to form, soft and clear as if spoken right beside them. You returned. Few do. Relin exhaled slowly. Identify yourself. The voice paused. Identity is a word for separation. Here there is none. Where is here? He asked. Between, the voice replied simply, the space humanity built to rest unseen. The words hung in the air. Sarah's pulse quickened. You mean, this is human space? This is their shadow, the voice said. They left it behind to remember what they were. Relan leaned closer to the viewport. Why show this to us? Because you looked. And because others will follow, he froze. The council is preparing another mission. Yes, said the voice, its tone unchanged. They always do. Curiosity without understanding is their pattern. It was ours once too. A new ripple passed through the void. The luminous structures reoriented, forming a vast circular pattern. Each glowed brighter until a faint image appeared at the center, an outline of a planet. Blue oceans, white clouds. Earth. Sarah whispered. They left an echo of their world. The image shifted. Earth burned. Great shadows, ships, fleets, machines rose and fell. Then silence. The planet went dark. Only its reflection in the luminous grid remained. The voice spoke again. We vanished from your stars not in death but in choice. The galaxy wanted our power, our secrets. Every eye that turned toward us came as a thief. So we closed the gates. Relan swallowed. And those who tried to spy on you, they were given silence, the voice said. A mercy. We erased them from the chain of fear. Sarah looked down. Then why are you showing this to us? To test if you can learn, the voice replied. Your people mirror the mistakes that ended us. You reach for things not yours to hold. Soon the Watchers from beyond will return and your kind will not be ready. Watchers? Relan asked. A tremor passed through the ship. Outside, the glowing structures dimmed as something vast moved beyond them. An outline larger than any fleet he had ever seen, shape unclear, mass impossible to calculate. It was like space itself folded around a moving wound. Relan's breath caught. What is that? The voice softened. That is what we hid from. The reason we became unseen. The stars flickered. The light ripples began to collapse, folding inward as if retreating into their own reflection. Sarah's screens filled with data streams, coordinates, symbols, pulses of unknown code. It's giving us something, she said. A map, maybe? Take it all, Relan said. We'll need it when we go back. The voice spoke again, quieter now, almost sorrowful. Return if you must, warn them. But understand, what follows humanity's silence is not peace. It is judgment. The ship trembled as the fabric of space began to unwind. The view outside blurred, stars stretching into ribbons of light. The structures folded like petals closing around a fading glow. Sarah held onto the console. It's pushing us out. Relan gritted his teeth. Let it. A final pulse washed over them, and the voice whispered one last time. We are not your fear. We are your mirror. The ship burst back into known space near Varus Prime, alarms blaring. The navigation grid reappeared, but every system flickered with the same blue script they had seen before. The ship's hull glowed faintly with human code, like it had been branded. They drifted in silence for a long while. Then Sarah whispered, We have to tell them. Relan stared at the symbols dancing across the glass. They won't listen. Then we make them. He turned to her, his eyes reflecting the faint blue glow. If we tell the truth, they'll call us traitors. But if we don't, they'll send another fleet. And this time, humanity won't warn them. They'll erase them. Sarah nodded slowly. Then we need to show them what we saw. Not tell show. Relan looked back at the stars. Somewhere in the endless dark, he imagined he could still hear that pulse, the sound of something vast and waiting. He set the ship's course back toward Varus Prime, unaware that deep inside his ship's data core, the voice had not truly faded. As the engines warmed, the console lights flickered once more, rearranging into words only he could see. They are already awake. When Relan's ship re-entered the orbit of Varus Prime, the Council's orbital grid immediately surrounded it. Drones swarmed like angry insects, scanning every plate of the hull, every particle of heat, every silent echo of the blue symbols glowing beneath the metal. To them, the ship looked alive. It pulsed faintly as if breathing. Commander Relan, a sharp voice barked through the channel. You are under investigation for unauthorized travel and violation of exploration protocols. Cut engines and prepare for seizure. Relan exchanged a glance with Sarah. Neither spoke. They both knew resistance meant death, but compliance meant something worse. Silence. Still, Relan raised his hands. Powering down. No hostility. The voice didn't respond, but the surrounding fleet adjusted positions, boxing them in with perfect precision. The entire sky glimmered with ships, all poised for threat. As they descended through the upper atmosphere, Varus Prime's capital glowed below, a sea of crystal towers, golden bridges, and flickering light paths that cut through the mist like rivers of fire. They were taken to the High Council Tower, escorted by armed guards. The corridors felt colder than before, and each passing official stared at them as if they were already ghosts. Inside the chamber, High Speaker Torvin waited. He stood before the vast holographic display of their galaxy, where the outer rim was now marked by several red indicators, new contact anomalies discovered since Relon's departure. So, Torvin began, voice smooth but cutting. Our lost commander returns. Tell me, Relon, did the humans give you enlightenment or insanity? Relon's jaw tightened. Neither. They gave us a warning. Torvin smiled thinly. A warning from ghosts? They're not ghosts, Relon said firmly. They built a world outside the galaxy, a reflection made of light. They left because something hunted them, something older than any of us. Laughter rippled through the council. Torvin's expression did not change. You expect us to believe that humanity fled from fear? They conquered half the spiral arms before they vanished. Sarah stepped forward. They vanished because they understood what power attracts. They saw the shape in the void. They called it a watcher. At that word, the chamber grew quieter. A few counselors exchanged uneasy glances. Relon caught it. Fear they thought they'd hidden. You've seen traces too, he said softly. Those anomalies you mark in red, they're not natural, are they? Torvin's smile faltered. Speculation, he said coldly. Without proof, your words are worthless. Relon activated the small hollow crystal he'd carried. The room dimmed as a blue projection unfolded. The luminous structures, the echo of Earth, and the giant shadow that had drifted beyond them. Gasps filled the air. The image wasn't sharp, but its vastness was undeniable. The galaxy's oldest predators had seen many horrors, but none like this. Torvin turned to his aides. It's a fabrication. Sarah's voice cut through the tension. You can't fake what's still inside your own systems. Check your archives. A counselor hurried to a console, fingers flying across the surface. The hollow above flickered. Entire sectors of data blinked out. The counselor's voice cracked. Sir, it's true. Records are vanishing again. Every file linked to human history is being rewritten in real time. The same blue phrase appeared across all displays. We are seen. The chamber erupted into chaos. Officials shouted orders. Guards raised their weapons at nothing. Alarms howled as every defense network triggered against invisible intrusion. Relon stood still. It's not an attack. They're showing you what I tried to say. Torvin slammed his fist on the podium. Silence! Shut it all down! The lights dimmed to darkness. Only the blue words remained, glowing faintly across the ceiling. Then a voice, calm human echoing through every wall. You were warned. Torvin stepped back. Who speaks? The voice ignored him. Your spies trespassed again. They built new eyes in our shadow. They brought others. Relon's heart stopped. Others? You mean? Yes, the voice said, soft as the edge of space. The Watchers have followed your signals. They are awake. Outside the tower, the clouds split. Every eye turned upward as the night lit with cracks of golden white lightning. The orbital defense grid shattered like glass. Massive arcs of energy bent across the horizon, silent but blinding. Then something vast began to emerge. Not from hyperspace, but from between the folds of light itself. It wasn't a ship. It was a shape of hunger, a shadow that absorbed stars. It had no engines, no sound, only movement like the slow blink of a god. Every scanner on Varus Prime went blind the moment it appeared. By the void, someone whispered. Relon spoke quietly. That's what they hid from. The human voice returned, now echoing from the very air. We sealed the gate for reason. You opened it with curiosity. Now you will understand why we chose silence, Torvin shouted. Defenses. Launch all ships! The fleet obeyed. Thousands of vessels rising through the burning clouds, firing into the void. Their beams disappeared into the black without a trace. A wave of pressure rolled through the sky, invisible but heavy enough to shatter mountains. Ships vanished mid-flight, erased without flame or debris. Only brief bursts of static remained. Sarah grabbed Relon's arm. We have to go! He didn't move. Where? There's nowhere left. If that thing crosses the system, it won't stop. A sudden flash illuminated the council tower. One of the human ships had appeared, a colossal white vessel glowing with serene blue light. It didn't fire. It simply placed itself between Varus Prime and the advancing shadow. The human voice spoke again, clearer now, almost mournful. We do not destroy. We end destruction. From the heart of the ship, a wave of light spread outward, soft, golden, and impossibly vast. It touched the shadow, and for a heartbeat, time itself seemed to hesitate. The black form folded, rippled, and then it was gone, erased as if never there. The fleet hung silent. The sky returned to normal, stars blinking faintly through the torn clouds. Inside the chamber, no one spoke. The blue words on the walls faded slowly. We are seen became we forgive. Torvin collapsed into his chair, trembling. They saved us. Relin looked up at the fading light above. No, he whispered. They saved what's left to learn from us. Sarah turned to him, her voice breaking. Do you think they'll ever come back? He shook his head. They never left. Far above Varus Prime, the human ship lingered for one final moment. Then as softly as a sigh, it dissolved into light and vanished into the stars. The next sunrise over Varus Prime felt hollow. The golden towers still caught the light. The market still opened, and the citizens still walked the shining bridges. But no one spoke above a whisper. The air itself carried a sense of awe and quiet terror. Every living being had seen the event in the sky, the white ship that had faced the darkness and erased it like a dream. No broadcasts had covered it. No technology could record it. Yet everyone remembered. Commander Reland stood at the edge of the grand terrace, watching the clouds drift over the rebuilt council tower. His reflection stared back from the marble floor. Tired eyes, gray skin dimmed by sleepless nights. He hadn't spoken to Sarah in days. The council had sealed itself off, terrified of what they could not understand. Behind him, soft footsteps echoed. Sarah approached, carrying a small data crystal glowing faintly blue. It's happening again, she said quietly. Relin turned. What is? The rewriting. The entire defense archive from last night is gone. Not erased, replaced. Every log, every memory bank now begins with the same words. She handed him the crystal. He activated it. The message pulsed slowly, calm as a heartbeat. We stand between you and your end. Relin closed his eyes. They're still watching, Sarah nodded. They never stopped. From the distance, an explosion of light flared across the horizon. Not from weapons, but from malfunctioning ships in orbit. Thousands of defense drones drifted in formation one moment, then turned their cannons inward the next, vaporizing themselves. Alarms screamed through the capital. The comm lines filled with chaos. Fleet control is collapsing, all systems responding to an external signal. Relin ran for the nearest console. Patch me into the orbital command. A voice crackled through static. Commander, something's overriding the defense grid. It's not human tech. The code, it's the same blue patterns you brought back. Sarah stared at the hologram. It's not an attack. It's a cleansing. Relin frowned. Explain. They're erasing what could wake the Watchers again. Anything that radiates curiosity into deep space. Any sensor array, any long-range scan. They're shutting our eyes before we bring the darkness back. Outside, streaks of white light crossed the atmosphere as satellite arrays vaporized in perfect silence. It was surgical, not destruction, but deliberate removal. Cities stayed untouched, yet the sky dimmed, and communication with outer colonies fell dead one by one. Relin watched helplessly as the fleet he'd once commanded dissolved into motes of light. We've become a danger even to them, he murmured. No, Sarah said softly. We've become a danger to ourselves. Hours passed. The chaos above faded into eerie calm. The blue clouds of plasma that had once carried power now lingered like drifting ghosts. Varus Prime had been disarmed by something it couldn't fight. Yet beneath the fear, a strange peace filled the air. A sense that the storm had passed for a reason. In the ruins of the council tower, Torvin sat alone among broken panels. His proud posture was gone, replaced by exhaustion. When Relin entered, the old leader didn't even look up. Do you see what your warning brought? Torvin said bitterly. We are blind, helpless. The council has no control, no defense. We've lost everything. Relin stepped closer. You've lost the illusion of control. Humanity hasn't destroyed you. They've saved you from your own arrogance. Torvin laughed low and bitter. Save us by stripping our weapons? By turning our machines into dust? Yes, Relin said. Because your weapons were never protection. They were invitations. The chamber lights flickered again. A familiar hum filled the air. The blue glow crept across the ceiling and formed symbols. Not words this time, but patterns. A map. Sarah's voice came from the doorway. It's the same energy as before. They're showing us something. The map zoomed out, revealing the spiral of the known galaxy, then farther, into regions no one had ever charted. At the outer rim, faint golden points appeared like distant fires. Dozens. Hundreds. Relin's eyes widened. Those aren't stars, Sarah nodded. They're beacons. Human beacons. Torvin struggled to his feet. You mean they're still alive? They're everywhere, Sarah whispered. Across hidden systems, wrapped in silence, watching, waiting. The voice returned, not loud but close, surrounding them in a warmth that felt almost human. Do not mistake peace for absence. We walk unseen so your kind may survive the light that follows. The Watcher's hunger for curiosity. We shield you until you learn restraint. Relin took a deep breath. You said before that you became unseen. Why now? Why reveal yourselves again? The voice paused. Because something else has awakened. Something that remembers the sound of your questions. The room shuddered. The holographic map flared red. The distant beacons began to flicker one by one, winking out like dying candles. Sarah gasped. They're being attacked. Torvin staggered forward. By what? No one answered. The hum grew louder, turning into a deep vibration that rattled their bones. Outside, the stars dimmed, not from clouds or shadow, but as if something vast and invisible was spreading between them. The voice returned, softer now. The Watchers have found another path. We cannot face them as we are. But you can. Raylan's heart pounded. Us? How could we fight something that erases stars? You still live where we cannot, the voice said. We are echoes of a time that ended. But your world is young, alive. The Watchers feed on the old. They do not yet see your potential. That is your weapon. The map shifted again. A single point of light remained near the galactic core. Bright, pulsing, fragile. This is their next destination, the voice said. If they consume it, the chain will break. Every world will follow. You must reach it before they do. Sarah looked at Relin, her eyes wide. They're asking us to fight for them. He nodded slowly. No, they're asking us to finish what they couldn't. The light began to fade. The voice grew distant. When you arrive, remember our mistake. Curiosity is strength, but only if it's guided by respect. Look, but do not steal. Listen, but do not shout. The last glow faded into the air, leaving only silence. Relin looked at the stars through the broken ceiling, their reflections trembling in his eyes. Prepare the ship, he said quietly. If the Watchers are real, someone has to meet them. Sarah hesitated. And if humanity returns again? Relin smiled faintly. Then maybe for the first time we'll stand beside them. Far above Varus Prime, the sky shimmered once more, not with destruction, but with a quiet, steady pulse. It was not a threat nor a warning. It was an invitation. Relin's ship cut through the upper atmosphere like a whisper. Below, Varus Prime glimmered faintly, a city of gold swallowed by silence. But this time they weren't returning for orders. They were leaving for war. The coordinates given by the human echo pointed toward the galactic core, a place no living explorer dared to reach. Every tale from that region ended the same way. Ships vanished, stars dimmed, and signals returned as static. Sarah sat beside him in the cockpit, fastening her harness. Navigation's unstable. Every system keeps asking for verification from something that doesn't exist. Relin's gaze stayed on the stars. That's because we're heading somewhere reality isn't finished yet. As they broke orbit, the glow of Varus Prime faded behind them. For the first time in generations, there were no defense fleets, no council orders, no safety nets. Just two beings carrying a message older than their world, and a map drawn in human light. Hours turned to days. The stars grew brighter and colder. The space ahead shimmered not like normal distortion, but as though the void was reflecting itself. Sarah studied the scanner. The signal's repeating. Same pulse we heard before, the heartbeat. Relin adjusted the thrusters. Then we're close. The hum intensified until the panels trembled beneath their hands. Then the stars vanished. A single colossal structure materialized before them. Dark, geometric, yet alive with faint golden veins. It hung between space and nothingness, turning so slowly it seemed still. Sarah stared in awe. That's not a planet, it's something built. The readings confirmed it. The structure was older than any civilization recorded, built from materials unidentifiable by their instruments. At its core glowed a swirling mass of compressed light, a star imprisoned, pulsing like a trapped heart. Rellen's voice lowered. This must be what the humans called the Watcher's Eye. The moment he spoke, the lights around them flickered. Every display went black. The ship drifted, powerless. Then a single word appeared across the cockpit in pale blue. Observed. A wave of cold pressure washed through the cabin. Sarah gasped as the air shimmered. The cockpit window darkened, and for an instant something looked back. Not a shape, not a face, but awareness. A sense of being weighed, measured, understood. Relin clenched his fists. You've been feeding on them, haven't you? Every civilization that looked too far, that asked too much, you consume them. The thing answered not in words, but in feeling. Hunger, curiosity, the echo of ancient knowledge twisting into need. The air felt thick with thoughts not meant for mortal minds. Sarah gritted her teeth. We can't fight it with weapons. It doesn't even exist in the same plane. Relin looked down at the console where faint blue lines flickered. Maybe that's why they sent us. We still exist where they can't. The blue code spread across the controls, forming new pathways. The systems came alive again, but now their ship glowed faintly white, the same color as the human vessels. Sarah's voice trembled. It's rewriting our ship. Relin nodded slowly. No, it's giving us a way to see what it sees. The cockpit dissolved into light. Suddenly they were standing, not in the ship, but within a massive space of flowing data and memory. Stars formed from equations, light curved into thought. They could see the Watcher's Eye from above now, vast, endless, and ancient. And beside it something stirred. A fleet, not alien, not machine, human. White ships drifting like phantoms, invisible to sensors but blazing bright here in this realm of thought. They're here, Sarah whispered. They've been waiting. A human figure emerged from the light, calm and silent. It wasn't flesh, and it was memory given shape. The same voice that had guided them spoke, clearer than ever. You have reached the threshold. The Watcher is not life. It is hunger for understanding. Once we fed it with our questions until it began to feed on us. Now it turns toward your kind. Relin took a cautious step forward. Why us? Because your species still believes discovery is safety, the voice said. But discovery is fire. It burns what touches it without respect. Sarah's brow furrowed. You said we could stop it. How? The human's form brightened. Knowledge cannot be destroyed. It can only be contained. The Watcher's power lies in reflection. It consumes what sees itself. To end it, you must show it something it cannot understand. Sacrifice. Relin's chest tightened. You want us to give our lives? Not your lives, the voice said softly, your legacy. The Watcher thrives on remembrance. If you choose to fight, your civilization must forget itself. Silence filled the light. The meaning was clear. While to survive, Varus Prime would lose its history, its pride, its memory. Everything they had ever been. Relin looked at Sarah. Her eyes were wet but steady. Maybe that's the only way to end the cycle, she said. To let go of what keeps calling it back. He turned to the human echo. Then show us what to do. The voice lifted its hand and light streamed through them both. The ship around them reformed, engines glowing brighter than any sun. Their coordinates realigned toward the Watcher's core. As they descended, the space around the eye rippled like water. The shadow moved, turning its attention fully on them. Its awareness pressed against their minds, vast and unending. Relin gripped the controls. If it feeds on memory, then we'll give it everything. The blue code surged through the ship, linking with every system, every thought, every record of their world. In that moment, Varus Prime's archives began to burn, history collapsing into white light. Sarah whispered, It's working. The eye pulsed violently, its hunger turning to confusion. It reached for more, but there was nothing left to take. Only silence. Only light. In that last instant before the ship dissolved, Relin felt the presence of humanity again. Calm, proud, unbroken. You have learned, the voice said. Now rest. And the Watcher's eye folded in on itself, collapsing into a single spark that vanished into the void. Far across the galaxy, on the quiet surface of Varus Prime, Dawn broke again. The towers stood, the ocean shimmered, but no one remembered the fleets or the humans or the fear. Only a strange, comforting pulse echoed in the air, like the faint rhythm of a heartbeat beneath the stars.